Thank you for making the time to, go through this webinar with me. It's a bit of a delight, this topic we're discussing today, which is communication is the key to successful building captive development. I'm going to take you on a bit of a different experience to see how we do bids and proposals in a whole new way. So I hope that you're up for this experience, and I'm looking forward to engaging with each and every one of you. So in terms of introduction, I just wanted to just ask a quick question. Or I would say just basically in a nutshell to say, like, if you had to walk into a room and a whole lot of people are in the room, what is your first, I could say, reaction to the room? For me personally, I smile. And when you notice when you smile, you obviously light up the audience in the room. And that kind of breaks the ice or the tension in the room. And I think also when you going into meet a client, offering a cup of coffee, they always say offer a warm cup of coffee instead of a cold cup of coffee, or a lukewarm temperature coffee, because instantly the person on the other side warms up to you faster. And this is proven scientifically. So that's just in a nutshell where I'm going today with this experience that I want to bring to you and take you to a new experience in terms of how we engage with our customers. And I'm looking forward to the session. So let me start. So like you said, I will start with the first impression is the last impression. I'm sure you will agree with me. Your smile is your logo, your personality is your business card, and how you leave others after an experience becomes your trademark. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with this quote, and that's a very important quote that you guys need to aspire to. It's important that your personality shines in when you're meeting with customers. It's all about you coming across the customer in a very positive manner. And I think, like I said, starting off with a smile to break that ice and tension is very important to make sure that you build rapport with your customers. I'm going to take in a little bit of a different journey. And I just want to play this video for you in terms of where I'm going today with this presentation. Oscar, is it playing the video?
Maybe it's worth copy pasting the link in the chat box.
Okay, let me just put this in a chat box.
PowerPoint and embedded videos are always a pain. Come out of the presenter mode maybe, and then you'll be able to copy.
What I'll do, I'll just bring it up on my laptop. I'll just bring up the YouTube video so you guys can see it. And then we can.
So you had the songs first, and now we have the videos. Can you stop this screen share, Roshinee, and maybe share the other one?
Can you see?
I think you should stop this screen sharing, Roshinee. At the moment, we only can see your PowerPoint. If you can stop this screen sharing and then open.
Go pause share and resume. See, now I can see my screen.
Right. If you can just stop the screen share.
Right. Got it.
And once you stop the screen share, let's see.
Can you see now the video?
Not yet. Let's stop the screen share. Can you? Still we can see the slides.
Now?
Yeah. Yes. Now, yes.
Fantastic. Okay, let me start.
Thank you.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that video.
Totally, totally. Thank you. I think people want to know when you are going to take them out there, Roshinee.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. All right, sorry, I think I'm going on to the next video. Apologies. Okay. All right, so basically, I think everybody can understand that from the video I presented just now is I'm sure all of you are ready now to go to the spa and you want to experience that, and I'm sure that everybody's seen the video. Took into account the different elements that was presented in that video. And that is a video of the experience that you would have at the Ibiza Spa. And that specific video comprises of the different elements of communication, and that's where we're going today with this presentation. I'm going to show you how to use sensory experiences to basically create that interactive experience with your customer. And the three important points I'm going to raise today is basically communication, emotion, and senses, customer-focused content, and obviously the last but not least, compliant, comprehensive, compelling proposals. So looking at that video, I'm sure that warmed up to you guys are ready for that holiday. You're ready to get into that spa because it evoked that specific emotions in you when you saw that video. And that's where we're going with a whole new concept in how we do business proposals, whether we're presenting to our customer, whether we are putting in proposals in terms of a different format and using digital marketing and innovation and creativity in terms of how we present to the customer. So what is communication? Communication has basically three elements according to capture management. You need to obviously have the person who originates the message, a channel for communicating that message, and a receiver of that message. So it's basically a three-step methodology in terms of communication. It is important for business proposal professionals to understand that communication with each other, both internally and externally, is very important in business proposals. So yeah, I've got a funny little cartoon picture with a guy shooting in the dark. So basically, you know, when a lot of times there people go to customers without having the proper research and knowledge and investigation done with customers, and they basically, you know, shooting in the dark and not being able to have the vision and the mission of the client, not understanding how the client operates. And this is what happens. It's just a little sort of funny moment to say, you know, if you don't have your act together and you don't have research and knowledge to the customers, you're obviously shooting in the dark. So going back to communication and capture management, it comes in different forms. I mean, we all know that communication is written, it's verbal, it's body language, you know, and obviously when you're communicating with the person in creating that message, you know, it's always received, you know, it depends on numerous factors and how it is basically received to that of the other person on the other line, or the person that you're engaging with, or the audience you're presenting to. So it's important to understand your customers' personal values. Get to know your customers, that I've mentioned on numerous occasions now already, is about research. Look at their vested interests, what is their frame of mind, if they have any personal learning style. It's important to understand all those factors when you communicate into that of your customers. The different channels we use when we communicate changes all the time. We understand that we are evolving. We're in the 21st century. We're evolving constantly in terms of technology, in terms of best practice, in terms of you know, innovation and creativity, and that's how digital marketing comes into play into business proposals. You know, when we work on business proposals, sometimes it becomes mundane, becomes monotonous, becomes a rigorous process in terms of business process management. But in terms of how we invent, it's about inventing different techniques and different ways in how we can respond to business to create that dynamic say rapport with your customers and make your customers, you know, be wowed at the first very impression. And I think that, you know, it's important that business proposal managers also must take into all the factors when they're deciding on the content and the structure of the communication to the teams. And also when they obviously communicating internally with the leadership teams and customers as well, and external teams. So take into all those different perspectives I know sometimes people don't have time to do it, but when you're working on large strategic deal management, when you have a long duration bid and sometimes you have a must-win bid, it's important to invest in taking the time to create something that's out of the box and to make you think differently in terms of what you present to your customer. So here's an important thing, and this is the most important thing I want to raise today, is about sensory marketing. It's to activate your senses. And looking at the video that I presented, I'm sure that you see the site. They had visual background with everything around, and the mountains, the views, the breathtaking water, and the pools, and you obviously had that site. That's what's all it's about in terms of obviously using site in terms of branding, using visual effects, graphic and design. When you're presenting in your proposals, you know that we do with past performances, we have case studies, we have client references, use pictures to illustrate your story. Colors, you know that color evokes so many sensory stimulation. It keeps your customers engaged. So you got to keep them hooked from the beginning. And just, if I can tell you, like blue, the color blue evokes comfort. You know, red also is captivating. It's ravishing. So red is the most important. I think it's specifically scientifically mentioned that red sort of stays in your mind much longer than any other color. And then you can use those different techniques in terms of how you capture your audience from a different, angles in terms of presentation, and obviously using, like I mentioned, graphics design, using expertise. I know a lot of the proposal that bid managers use InDesign. You use, for your proposals, you use design software. That's all good and well, but also from a presentation perspective, you can use visual effects. You've seen the video, it evokes so much of emotion. Now you're ready to book your ticket and you're going to go to the spa. That's the whole, it's about increasing your win ratio and making your customers want more and more from you, and making sure that, in the long term, you keep them hooked, not only in the interim, but obviously in the long term, to want them coming back more. And that's all bottom point is you want your customers to keep coming back to you because they're excited to do business with you. And obviously hearing, presentations using sound, music, voices. Imagine going to a presentation if you are shortlisted for an opportunity and you bring up a video, and the first thing is having a CEO introduce, do an introduction to the video. That causes personal rapport, that builds personal rapport. And obviously, it shows that your stakeholders are involved, your stakeholders show keen interest in their customers, your stakeholders want to engage with you for the long run. So hearing is important, and obviously targeting the right audience and blending the right audience, the right customer focus, I could say, content, and then listening as well, acknowledging their concerns, showing empathy and gratitude. It's important. And, everybody, I know a lot of people that practice daily gratitude, but how about practicing daily gratitude to your customers? Your customers are your lifeblood of your organization, and they generate the business. Without your customers, basically you have to close shop. So it's important that you kind of show that concern, show empathy, you understand their pain issues, their hot buttons, you understand what they're going through, and how you can be able to provide solutions and provide to obviously active listening and engaging with them further. In terms of speaking, I think also remember we have our mouth is used for everything. I'm using my mouth now to speak, so you make your audience taste success, and to create that desire to satisfy their wants and needs. And you know that when you meet someone as well, it's always important to understand and remember their name. So when you walk into a presentation, for example, you're addressing the executive teams, always address them by their names. You're showing that you remember them, you're building a rapport with them. And also when you're speaking, use emotional inflections in your voice. It evokes a feeling of synergies. So these are the elements of sensory marketing that we can use in bids and proposals, whether using, a proposal that is a hard copy submission or electronic submission, or you're basically doing a presentation to that of the board of the meeting, that's where all the sensory active senses come into play. And this is how you can obviously use these techniques to better yourself in terms of bids and proposals. And then I want to show you another, but I think I'll play this video at the end. I'll come back to the video. I'll carry on with my presentation. So looking at content, you know, the brain is basically focused on specific information. Customer-focused content, it all comes down to content marketing. You know, the readers of the proposal are extremely selective. So when you get a proposal, the eye captures everything. You know, you need to obviously give the customers a reason for paying attention, and you want them to be drawn into that proposal, into that response. So readers are also very, very selective. They want to see what they want to see. And I think that it's important that you understand that you provide specific information that captures their brain. So credibility, establish trust, orientate them to your topic, motivate them to listen. Don't waste precious moments, like I say, the opening seconds, because your opening seconds, you want to capture them as much as possible. And I always say, do you know you have 60 seconds to capture your audience? And in 60 seconds, how are you going to capture them? So don't waste their time on babble, on focusing on things that's not relevant to the topic. Focus on things that are going to capture them with a wow statement or a headline, you know, that's bold and exciting, and or give them a little snapshot of introduction that what's more to come. So that's how you gain credibility with the customer. In terms of captivating and persuasive story writing, you know, when we write proposals as well, the terminology use descriptive persuasive words to describe your products and services. It's important that you use this persuasive to make them sure that you, you know, you embrace, you interacting with them. They kind of, when they're reading the proposal, they can understand, they get you, you understanding their issues, and you basically, you know, trying to take them on a journey. And you have attention to detail, and always, always, always stay on point. Don't drift away. Keep it flowing, keep it consistent, keep the messaging and the storyboarding, you know, flow from start of the proposal, the introduction of the proposal, to that of the, I could say the end of the proposal. Make sure that it flows, there's consistency, and everything comes together. And sometimes we don't even think that, you know, we don't even research our customers in terms of culture. You know, culture is extremely critical in presentations or in proposals. Just imagining you working for an Irish customer and you go in there and you have a little clover on your jacket. You can put a little Irish, like I say, clover on your jacket. It's showing appreciation. You respect the customer's culture and their values and integrity. You know, you could obviously, sometimes you can wear a little of a green scarf or anything that, you know, it's all about branding. It's about color concepts, and that's how you build a rapport with your customers, because you're kind of saying like, we are one. You're creating synergies with your customer for the long term. You're kind of building that, you know, strong foundation with your customers, and you identifying with their diversity and their values. And you're also respecting where they come from. So it's important that you kind of personalize those, you know, those elements, and make sure that you think of those things when you're engaging with your customer. And in terms of content, optimize your content that your customers can relate to. I also mentioned hot buttons previously. You know, give attention to their pain issues, understand, relate. Use words that can be able to evoke those senses in them to say, oh my word, look at this. You know, this company understands me. This company understands my roadmap, where I want to go in terms of strategy, and they understand my issues. They get me. So it's important that you bring all those elements and tie it together. So like I mentioned, you want to evoke an emotional response. It's all about creating that new perspective in terms of how we respond to opportunities. Okay, so focus areas for customer engagement. I made mention on research. These are just tips, like I mentioned before. Know your customer, research well their budgets, their buying, their behavior, their market trends and competitor analysis. Um, you know, um, we're living in a very competitive world where we have a lot of incumbents that we work with. It's about taking the initiative to getting to know your customer more and more in detail and finding out what their likes and dislikes. And that's how you're going to create a long-term customer for the future. And then tolerance, keep the momentum going, keep the flow of the story flow of storytelling. You don't want it drift away. Keep the momentum building and keep them wanting more and more and more to come back to you. And I think this is extremely critical when you're working with bids. It's about having the tolerance levels to be able to, bear the kind of journey with the customers. We all know that, when working with customers, you have your highs, you have your lows, but it's about keeping it going, making sure that you understand, your customer understands that you're there for the long haul. Collaboration, it's all about collaboration as well, creating a synergy for long-term, like growing together, roadmap, account plans, sharing the vision of your customer strategic plan, where they want to go, where they want to see themselves in the next 2 to 3 years, in the 5 to 6 years. Build that kind of, journey with them and make sure that you see those opportunities in between. Network as well is very important, because when you network with them, you get to understand where there's new opportunities. It builds your pipeline of opportunities for your company and obviously creates a very long-term, I would say, perspective in terms of winning business. And in terms of punctuality, sometimes you don't even think about this. Be mindful of the customer's time, deliver your projects on time. You are showing the customer that you are trusted and your company is responsible. It's about making sure that you adhere to time frames and timelines. Delivering your projects on time is critical. You want to be able to create that trust factor where your customer can say, what, this person is reliant, they're responsible, they understand my needs, they understand my wants, they understand that I have the pressures internally, and they can help me deliver what my company's objectives are. So those are the different focus areas for customer engagement, looking at an extremely diverse and holistic approach in terms of how we engage with customers for the long term. So here we go about the metaverse. I'm sure that everybody's talking about digital marketing and the metaverse, and this is a buzzword going around now with the industry. So what is metaverse? Metaverse is basically, when you say meta is comprehension, and then verse is the universe. So you've got, it's broken down into AR, and then you've got VR. So what is AR? AR is digital reality. VR is virtual reality. So how about, I'm sure COVID has taught us a lot because we obviously had no face-to-face interaction. We all were basically sitting at home, working from home, working remotely all over the globe. And it's about creating that experience to embrace with your customers. So if you think about moving forward in terms of innovation in the 21st century, where everything, like I mentioned before, is evolving in terms of technology and digital. So it's about making sure you wow your customers. You ever thought of meeting your customer in another country? For instance, you're engaging with them in Singapore and you have a virtual meeting with them. You're basically interacting with them, and they can feel as if you're really there, shaking their hands, and they can feel it because you basically created that experience to be able to engage with them on that personal level. The experience of the whole metaverse came about is about creating that human feelings. We want to create human feelings and emotions to make sure that we feel like we're really in this, we're actually in this environment, and we can feel them and we can embrace them and we can interact with them and do business better. The sounding for developing business. This is another unique technique, and it's a brand new technique that's taking the world by storm. The metaverse, it's called Metaverse for Business now. Everybody's interacting this way in terms of opportunities. And then blow your audience with virtual reality. you can basically walk into your customer's environment with virtual reality. You can take your customer on a journey with virtual reality. You can create new experiences. You can transform how you interact with your customers all over the world. And that's where the whole different types of communication comes to play. So I've touched on communication and what is communication, the different channels of communication. I touched on the different sensory, activating your senses in terms of sensory marketing. And obviously we've got the metaverse, which is obviously your digital marketing concepts in terms of innovation, creativity, and how you can engage with your customers going forward. So those are different angles, and I'm sure that a lot of companies haven't thought about that, but important to raise yourself in the game and in the marketplace. It's important that you stay relevant. And how do you stay relevant? It's about investigating what's out there in terms of best tools, best software, best technology, embracing those different evolving changes that we're having in the globe, that to make sure that you upbeat and kept up to speed with what's happening in the world, and can be able to take these new features and benefits to your customers. And it's all about, like I said, differentiating yourself from your customer. You want to create that key differentiator, make yourself unique. You hit on the different unique selling points. You basically create a different wow experience that your customers want to come and experience more and more and more from you. And this is obviously a tip of the iceberg in terms of what I'm presenting today. And it obviously sets you apart from any other competitor that you've engaged with. So the last section of the presentation is based on compelling, comprehensive compliant proposals. And we all know that, when we're responding to proposals, we always have to stick with, obviously, the triple C. We call it the triple C. So when we're presenting content to the customers, we make sure that when we're writing as well, that it has to appeal to your audience, your readers. You must remember your readers are your jury, the jury that you are presenting to. When we respond to proposals, we have most of the time it's broken into a technical response, it's broken into a commercial response. So how do you contextualize that whole entire storyboarding and your argument to appeal to that audience? So you got to be able to use, like I mentioned before in the presentation, persuasive words, using verbs and sounding, making sure the customer understands, they can feel that you get them, and making sure that you may carry your argument across to them so they can be able to say, this is the differentiator in the proposal, and this is what the company is bringing to the table, and they can look at you and they can obviously engage with you and make your business grow from using the information. Also, that proposals are now not just focused on, we've come a long way. No longer as proposals are now, lengthy, exhausting, proposals. You need to have, make sure that your proposals are short and sweet. Also use the KISS principle, which is keep it simple and short. Use bite-sized information, use verbs and descriptive writing. Because the readers that are reading the proposal, you want to captivate them. You don't want to have lengthy, drawn-out proposals that they lose the plot. You basically lose the plot with providing proposals that they lose interest in the first couple of sentences or first couple of paragraphs. Keep it short, sweet, and simple. Keep it descriptive. Use, like I mentioned before, graphics, content that excites them, capture them. They always say your eyes is the window to the world. So whatever you see visually, it has to captivate them visually. And obviously their brain needs to register what you're presenting to them. So bite-sized information using verbs and descriptive writing is important. And comprehension is very important. We understand that presentation is key in the proposals when we respond to bids and proposals. That grammar and, it's all about, the cosmetics of the proposal. So planning using evidence and explanation to back up your assertions to the problem is important. Support your solution, support your information that you present to customer with solid case studies and past performances. Make it holistic, make it comprehensive and fully come for your customer to want to come to you and realize that you're a partner of choice. They can be able to come to you for everything, for all their service offering, because you're offering them a very comprehensive solution. So look at it from that perspective. And you're also adding value, because you're adding value in the case that your customers look at it and say, oh my God, this is a person that is thinking about me, that's long-term, strategic plan, and they would want to be able to engage with you and do business with you for quite some time. And then I mentioned about innovation, creativity, the digital market technology, how we present this proposals and presentations, think out of the box. I'm sure that, sometimes, like I mentioned before as well in the very beginning, that proposals become monotonous. You keep on doing the same process over and over. Trying to do something different, bring creativity and innovation, make the customer's experience, blow them away with your techniques, and obviously knowing that they know that you've thought of them, you understand them, you embrace that their pain issues, and you basically thinking of them in their long strategic drive. And obviously, last but not least, compliant proposals. When we're building compliant proposals, use compliance matrix maps for technical and pricing requirements, past performance and scope of work, governance and regulations. So those are the kind of things you can build in your proposal. If you ever thought of using a compliance matrix that's visual, sometimes it's not just a pure Excel table. Try to think of something different that you tick off the boxes and you can say, I've checked that boxes, and those technical pricing requirements are done. And sometimes it's quite hard, it's quite difficult when you're working with federal and government, because they've got a standard process. But where there is room for allowance for creativity and innovation, at all means try as best as possible to bring this innovation techniques into play to make sure that your customer is looking at it from that perspective. Okay. So from today's session, I hope that, there's key takeaways. I think that what we want to basically, in conclusion, is cultivate long-term partnership. And it's about making them want to be, doing business over the long term. And we all understand the majority of the business today is reciprocal. You want them to feel excited. You want them to wanting more. They want to partner with you and be a partner of choice with you because you are innovative, you're creative, you are, you understand where the company's vision of the mission and mission is. You align with their strategy, you align with their goals, you align with their culture, you align with their, long-term roadmap. So it's important to cultivate that long-term relationship. And then in order to, they always say, don't exhaust too much of the information. Always give them, like I said, bite-sized information. Make them want to come. Make them want them to come to you back more and more and more. It's like it's like, for instance, biting into a chocolate, and once you get a taste of that Lindt chocolate, you want to eat more and more and more of that Lindt chocolate. So it's the same example. Give them a taste of what's to come. Keep them interested, and don't give them too much, but give them basically a little, so they will want to come to you more. And in the closing quote I've got here, it's no longer enough to satisfy your customers. You must delight them. So it's about making them feel wow, making them feel, it's activating those senses in them to make sure that they are drawn to you from the very, very, very beginning. And we all know that first impression is the lasting impression. Your smile speaks a million words. And I've also mentioned about the coffee, just to go back to that instance, it creates warmness a hot cup of coffee breaks the ice tension, and it calms the nerves actually. So it's important to use all those different techniques and embrace the customers. You never thought about this, but this is a different perspectives and how you can use to be able to work with customers for the long run. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell, everyone. Thank you so much for joining, but I'm not going to close. I've got a video to share with you as well to show how IKEA basically use digital marketing and sensory marketing to appeal to their audience. So before I close off, I'm going to be able to show you this video. I'm going to close this and go to the video. Just bear with me.
Thank you, Roshinee. I think once the video finishes, then we'll open up for the Q&A. Please do drop the questions, Aurora. We'll come back to your question immediately after the video. Thank you for the question. And if there's a question, please do post it in the chat. Thank you. You're so brave to experiment videos in a
the video wasn't playing, but I hope you can see my screen.
No, not yet. Not yet. Maybe, yeah. The slides have come out. So if you can share the video.
Once in a while.
Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Roshinee?
Now?
Maybe it will be coming soon.
Tell me if you can see my screen. Oh.
Try again.
Okay, hold on. Now? You still can't see my screen, Bhaskar?
No, Roshinee, we can't. Is there any link for that?
Yes, I do. I do have the link.
If you can post it in the chat, maybe.
Yeah, it is in the presentation. It's about the power of the book. It's called the IKEA Experience, about how they use digital technology to basically create that whole folder brochure style proposal. And basically they invoke the different sensory marketing to be able to create, a connection with their customers, so that customers can look at that brochure from a visual, from a digital perspective, from a, like I say, creating that sight, the sensory, the visual aspects of making them want to, for people to buy into their concept and to people to buy their products and services.
Right.
Okay, so that's it in a nutshell. I hope I haven't went too fast, and thank everybody for joining in. But I'm open the floor now for questions. If anybody has any questions, and I'm open to answer any questions. Thank you.
Roshinee, I think if you can share that link later, Roshinee, I'll add it part of the webinar notes so that people can watch that. Post the webinar. That will be great. But thank you, Roshinee. Thanks for sharing. And I think the way you presented the topic was, you initially talked about communication, where you landed how personal communication is important, the 4 attributes. Then you went on and talked about how communication is important during the capture phase. You talked about research and other things. Then you talked about a few principles on communication during the proposal phase. And how you could use it. So it was kind of an overall experience. Thank you for that. So a question from Aurora. Obviously, when you're presenting the slides or presenting your content, would you add your branding with your customer's brand, or would you add predominantly focus on just on the customer's brand?
I think it's important, first and foremost, some companies are very, very particular. You need to first get permission be able, if you can use their brand in marketing, in their proposals. I know that comes, for instance, whether it's whether you want to use the customer's logo or you want to use the customer's identity, you need to be able to get permission when you're using it. I hope I'm answering the question correctly. But in terms of, I know that in my experience, and that when we use, we do presentations of a proposal, we do use the customer's logo in the corner. We kind of create that, sort of collaboration with that of the customer. So for if you're saying you have a customer Coca-Cola, the company that you work for, you can create that kind of branding. So it's important that you first and foremost, like I mentioned before, is getting permission if you can use the customers, because it's their intellectual property, their IP, and they would sometimes not like for you to use their for obviously external use, not to be used. You can have, I know there's a law that you can't use, you've got to get permission.
That's a brilliant point, Roshinee. I think that's, I'm sure Arar also acknowledged it. It helps in two different points. One is, in a very simple way, add your logo on the left side, add the customer's logo on the right side, and you could make commercial in confidence or in partnership or something. That's the basic. But by asking this question of asking permission means that it automatically puts you a step forward to the others. But that's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for the question, Aurora. While others are asking their questions, please do drop your questions. From your experience, Roshinee, you have done proposal in Australia, done proposal in South Africa, and you also have done proposals in Dubai or the Middle East, for example. How does the communication vary? The personal communication varies culturally. The proposal communication vary culturally across these three geographies, Australia, South Africa, and the Middle East.
That's a very good question, Bhaskar. Every company and every, I would say, country is different because the culture is different. Some countries are more abreast and more way ahead in terms of technology and bid and proposal management. Just to give you a background, born in South Africa, being typical South African, we really abreast, I must be honest. It may surprise people, but we actually more advanced in terms of bid and proposals in most countries. We have systems in place, we have processes in place, so the culture is very much embracing that whole change. We have best practice, we have a stringent process. In terms of communication, there's, like I say, communication in terms of different governance gates. It's very professional. Time management is critical. Punctuality, I mentioned before in the presentation, is respecting people's time. So it's a very professional culture in South Africa. Coming to the UAE, it's chalk and cheese, because the communication here is very bad. It all depends on the company you're working for. If you work for an international company, then you're lucky enough to work in an environment that communication is key. There's structure, there's evidence of that in the organization, from the stakeholders right down to that of your employees that are actually on the floor, like basically doing the actual work. So there is a real communication problem in the UAE, and that's something that needs to be improved. Working in other bids in the UK and Australia, it's very professional as well. They're still evolving. Like I mentioned before, it's very similar. Like I said, I'm going to mention again, international companies, they kept up to breast. They're on top of their game in terms of bid and proposals. So, communication is extremely critical because everything is documented. Everything is, specifically done according to proper governance and policies and procedures. So there is proper structure. And I know a lot of countries, I'm not sure, I think, Bhaskar, you can correct me, I'm not sure, we've got about 90 chapters in the APNP at the moment. So every country is now getting up to breast in terms of, and not only in terms of international best practice and the way we do bids and proposals in terms of APNP or Shipley, for instance, but in terms of communication as a whole, I think that a lot of the companies and a lot of countries have still got a lot more to learn. And I think that by using these things, we have to keep abreast because times are changing, everything is evolving, and we need to be able to keep ourselves relevant in the market and raise our game in the market. Thanks.
Thank you. Again, one of the questions that came directly was, I think virtual presentations, face-to-face presentations, you just come out with a presentation and you just present it in face of the customer. They can actually see all these attributes, the 4 attributes that you talked about. Presenting virtually, any tips on that?
Absolutely. It's prepare, be planned, have trial runs. I mean, everything has to be done by trial and error, and obviously everything has to be done by testing. So when you go into environment, especially in a virtual reality environment, I mean, the metaverse is a digital platform to engage with your customers. It sometimes can be very scary and very daunting for your customer on the other end. Make sure that it's applicable to your customers from a culture perspective, because you don't want to have a virtual reality meeting. Your customer feels, scared or intimidated of how you're presenting. You can see that you can see everything, that they have. They could also obviously maybe sometimes reluctant to share the environment that they work in. Some customers are touchy-feely, so it's important to research before you even use virtual reality. When you working for technology or IT companies, ICT companies, telco, for instance, those customers may be more receptive to that of digital technology, and they can be able to have the direct tools so to be able to engage to make the platform work so that it'll be successful. And I think that when you're engaging as well, like I mentioned before, it's culture. 100%. It's that the most important thing is culture. People don't, it's like even when you go for a job interview, the most important thing is culture. You need to make sure that you're the right fit for the company as much as they are the right fit for you. So you need to understand your customer's culture in terms of dialogue, in terms of the way you speak, in terms of the mannerisms in which you use your professional, the way you talk. I know, like in the UAE now, when I deal with someone that's not English speaking or not, if I deal with someone that's Arabic speaking, I always go mahabba. You kind of break the tension. Over there it's someone from Greece, you say kalimera. So it's all those different. It's just a simple greeting. You kind of like using those things to create that rapport with your customer. So it's important that you investigate their culture, the customer in terms of their landscape, the climate, all those little things that add into making the conversation and building rapport with your customers for the long term. Thanks.
That's brilliant. Again, it's much easier to hide behind a proposal and focus more on persuasive proposals on the written side, but it's also important to have that human interaction in conveying the point is that you have written in a proposal in a much more, human way. That's the whole point. I think it's a good balance of what Roshinee pointed is a good balance of all the stuff that we already know, but reinforcing all the proposal practices on communication, but most importantly, also prioritize and focus on the personal communication as well. That's brilliant. Thank you, Roshinee. So any final questions before I move into the Scribble quiz? I will leave it open. So if there is any final questions, please do add. We will share the slides and the relevant information that goes with the slides, recording, etc. in the next 24 hours. But for now, let's get into the Scribble quiz. So as you rightly mentioned, people who know that already, anybody who tries it gets a point. Anybody who gets the answer first gets the double points. And we are compiling as we speak. We have automated the process now. Before we were doing it manually. So things will all fall in place and you're going to see the real-time leaderboards and stuff popping up very soon. So let's begin the Scribble quiz. Get closer to your chat window and let's just start. There were 4 senses that Roshinee pointed. The first one was sight. The second one was hearing. What are the next 2? Oh my God, Terry and Tamara, nice work. Yes, it's listening.
Good job. The warm coffee.
Exactly. You are focused on your coffee, or that's a good point. I mean, yeah, coffee is also a good one. So definitely listening and speaking. Yes, totally. I think I get to the point at 100%, be absolutely focused on the person's side here, listen, and then finally speak. Nice point. Thank you. Thank you for the tries, and both of you get the point. So when it comes to customer focused content, we talked about culture, and obviously, we talked about content. What are the other two C's that Roshinee mentioned in the customer focused content? There is a content and there is a culture, but there are two things that's much more that started with. What are the two things? Compelling, compliant, very close. It's not. What do you think? It's also two C's. There is a lot of C words. My God, yeah, credibility and captivating. That's a good listener, Tamara. You have been listening really well today.
Well done.
That's a tough one. Nice one. I think a good try, Aurora. But those two C's could also be included. Maybe next time we'll make instead of four C's, make it six C's, Roshni, so that you could add the compelling and the compliant aspect as well. So that's a good one. So just for fun, there was a cartoon there was a cartoon character, and it was pretty much placing arrows in different places. Did anybody count the number of arrows that was there?
I wouldn't even know that, but Bhaskar, you're making it so difficult. Oh my God. Someone got it right.
Yeah, I think I'm pleased to guess. Yeah, Rosh, while people,
It's
while people,
5, yeah.
do you mind checking the number of arrows? I don't know the answer.
It is 5,
It's five?
yeah.
Okay, let's give to Lydia and Laura both. Come on, you both tried. 5 or 6. That's nice. That's good. Um, so obviously, part of the customer focused content, we also had what we call customer engagement. This is where, again, there was, I think the pointers were very interesting. So we talked about research, which is like you just need to get to know the customer. Then we talked about tolerance. We talked about collaborative working. And there was a final one. What was that? Oh my God. Terry and Tamara, I think you've got few amazing listeners here. Guys, you are becoming legends of the Scribble quizzes now. There is always Tamara, there is always Terry, there is always Aurora. So nice. So totally. Tamara, Terry, well done. That's it. So well done for everybody who participated. I know we scheduled this on a Monday, which is slightly off track, but thank you for Roshinee for joining and sharing, because we had to reschedule this to accommodate this. And there are close to 60 plus people who registered for this webinar. Most of them will be catching up on the recording, guys. Please do catch up. And we will share Roshinee's details. Please do follow up with Roshinee and share your pointers, and let's see how you're getting along next week or this week, Thursday. We'll be slightly moving in geographies, because we have been talking about the content for some time. We'll be moving in geographies because as we pointed today, we need to know about the cultures. We'll be getting immersed ourselves in the German bidding with Wolfram. So that's this week, Thursday. Please do drop by. You might understand how the German world works. You might know all the best practices, but are they relevant in the German market? How does the German market works? As Roshinee pointed, we have a perception of how South Africa works, but she mentioned it's very advanced compared to even the Western economies, which is interesting. So maybe we'll dig deeper into how South Africa works next. But we're starting the geographies now. So this Thursday, we have Wolfram. Please do drop by. Otherwise, as always, webinar will be available on demand. Please do share it with your friends, colleagues. Drop by to share the feedback, and we will share the relevant content in due course. But thank you for all the love and support. Thank you for joining on an odd day. And thank you, Roshinee, for everything.
Thank you so much. I just want to say in conclusion, thank you everybody for joining. I know time is of the essence, and I hope I haven't went too fast. But I just want to say that let's think out of the box and embrace everybody's culture, because we're evolving, we're changing the game now in bids and proposals and presentations and how we engage with our customers. And if they need any support, any guidance, I'm happy to help them. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, and God bless. Have a good week.
Thank you. Thank you, Roshinee. Thanks, everybody.